So, it's the 1930s. The economy has decided to take a permanent vacation. 1/4 of the country is unemployed, banks are using customer deposits as kindling, and the American dream looks a lot like a breadline. Into this mess strolls Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a man with a killer smile and a plan. Well, less of a plan and more of a let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks approach. He called it the New Deal. The country, being desperate, was basically willing to try anything short of nationalizing pogo sticks. FDR had a mandate from the people that was less of a suggestion and more of a please fix this before we start sharpening pitchforks plea. FDR's administration started cooking up agencies so fast they ran out of names and just started using initials. You had the NRA, the AAA, the CCC, the TVA. It was an alphabet soup of government intervention. The National Recovery Administration, the NRA, was the big one. It tried to get industries to agree on codes for fair wages and prices, which sounds nice until you realize the government was essentially telling businesses how to run every tiny detail of their operations. The Agricultural Adjustment Act, or AAA, paid farmers to not grow crops, a concept so brilliantly counterintuitive it could only have been invented by a bureaucrat. This was a level of federal power nobody had ever seen before. It was bold, it was radical, and it was heading for a collision course with 9 gentlemen in robes. The Supreme Court of the 1930s wasn't exactly a group of radical thinkers. They were led by a conservative bloc of 4 justices known, with a complete lack of subtlety, as the Four Horsemen. We have Willis Van Deventer, James McReynolds, George Sutherland, and Pierce Butler. These guys looked at the Constitution, written in the 18th century for an agrarian society, and saw no reason it couldn't perfectly manage a 20th century industrial crisis. Their legal philosophy was basically, if it involves the federal government doing something new, the answer is no. They weren't evil, they just believed they were the last line of defense against a president they saw as a dictator in training. They held a very, very narrow view of the federal government's power to regulate commerce, a view that was about to get tested by poultry. It all came to a head in 1935 with a case called Schechter Poultry Corp. Versus United States. The Schechter brothers ran a poultry business in Brooklyn. They were accused of violating NRA codes, including, and this is true, selling sick chickens. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court. The central question wasn't about poultry health, but whether the federal government had the power to regulate a business that operated entirely within one state. The court, in a unanimous 9-0 decision, said absolutely not. This chicken, they argued, was part of intrastate commerce, not interstate commerce, so Congress couldn't touch it. This one ruling didn't just kill the NRA, it took a sledgehammer to the entire foundation of the New Deal. All because of a chicken that never even crossed the Brooklyn Bridge. After the sick chicken incident, things only got worse for FDR. In 1936, the court struck down the Agricultural Adjustment Act in United States v. Butler. Their reasoning was that while the government can tax for the general welfare, it couldn't just tax one group, food processors, to pay another group, farmers. It was another body blow. The court was systematically dismantling his signature policies, piece by piece. Roosevelt was furious. He felt he was elected to solve a crisis, and these 9 unelected men, 9 old men, he called them, were tying his hands with legal theories from the horse and buggy era. He had just won one of the biggest landslide elections in American history, carrying 46 of the 48 states. To him, this wasn't just a legal disagreement. It was the will of the people versus a few stubborn judges. Fresh off his massive victory, Roosevelt decided to stop playing nice. In February 1937, he unveiled his masterpiece of political subtlety, the Judicial Procedures Reform Bill. He claimed the court was overworked and the older justices were falling behind. His solution? For every justice over the age of 70 who didn't retire, the president could appoint an additional justice, up to a maximum of 15. Coincidentally, 6 of the 9 justices were over 70. How convenient! Nobody was fooled. This wasn't about efficiency, it was about adding 6 new justices who would vote his way. He was trying to pack the court. The public reaction was overwhelmingly negative. Even his own supporters thought this was a step too far. It looked like a power grab because, well, it was a power grab. While Congress was tearing itself apart over the court-packing plan, something strange happened inside the Supreme Court. A pivotal justice, Owen Roberts, who had previously voted with the conservatives, suddenly started siding with the liberals. In March 1937, in the case of West Coast Hotel Co. versus Parrish, the court upheld a minimum wage law in a 5-4 decision. It was a complete reversal of a similar case from just a year earlier. This became known as the switch in time that saved 9. Had Roberts been spooked by FDR's plan? Did he change his mind to save the court's independence from political interference? We'll never know for sure. Roberts himself claimed he had decided his vote before the court-packing plan was even announced. Historians, of course, find that timing just a little too perfect to be a coincidence. With the court now approving New Deal-style legislation, the central argument for FDR's court-packing plan evaporated. It was now a solution in search of a problem. The bill went down in flames in the Senate, handing Roosevelt a humiliating public defeat. But here's the beautiful irony. He lost the battle, but won the war. The threat alone had been enough. The court never seriously challenged the federal government's broad economic powers again. Soon after, the conservative justices started retiring, and FDR got to replace them anyway, eventually appointing 8 of the 9 justices. He achieved his goal not through his clever plan, but through a combination of political intimidation and the simple, undefeated march of time. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more historical insights. Thanks for watching, nerds!